You probably know that the Game Awards 2025 just happened. It was a night that was just full of cringe and a lot of commercials and gotcha games, which probably paid for Jeff Keighley's award show, I guess, and more. But there was one really big winner this year, and unsurprisingly, it was Clair Obscur Expedition 33. There were some sore losers too, which I'll get into later in the video, but the night was completely owned by Sandfall Interactive and their game about loss, grief, and turn-based combat. And some people are really not happy that Clair Obscur won what it did, but what the Game Awards this time around told me, besides the fact that it has become more corporatized than ever before, is that the industry got completely embarrassed last night, and it was glorious. As 80level.com confirmed prior to the Game Awards, as seen here, Expedition 33 was made for less than $10 million, which is still a lot of money for you and me, I know, but in the grand scheme of video games, especially these days when it comes to their budgets, 10 million? That's a drop in the bucket. AAA games usually cost at least 100 if not 200 million on average. So for an industry that's obsessed with spending insane amounts of money on the latest graphics or celebrity voices and more, here came an indie turn-based RPG about French people fighting a giant lady sitting on a rock, and it went ahead and swept everything. I remember first playing Clair Obscur when it came out. I ended up 100%ing the game and gaining that platinum trophy for it too. And while I wasn't crazy about its twist at the end of Act 2 myself, which I won't get into here, don't worry, there's no spoilers in this video, so relax, I did find the game in general to be pretty dang incredible, I gotta say, for everything else it was doing. The voices were done well, the art was impeccable, the music was an all-timer, and what I love the most about Clair Obscur is that it again brought that turn-based RPG back to the forefront of the conversation and proved everyone wrong again. You see, for years, companies have been saying that turn-based games are somehow dead. It's why Square Enix pretty much abandoned turn-based gameplay in the more recent Final Fantasy games. But here came Clair Obscur, and then they reinvented what a turn-based game could be seen as, and it worked really, really well. And I wouldn't be surprised if future games that also do turn-based, they're probably all going to rip this game off, if I'm being honest. But even more so than that, there was the acceptance speech where the creative director and CEO of Clair Obscur took the stage when they ultimately won Game of the Year, of course, and his speech resonated across everything too. Guillaume or Guillemon Broche, whose name I definitely just butchered, I apologize, he took the stage and then thanked everyone for the awards for the game that he worked so hard on with the rest of his team. But during his speech, Broche confirmed that he flew out the entire team of Clair Obscur, the main team at least. There was outsourcing work on the game too, I know that, but the main team that worked on it was very small and they were present. And to see the main team stand up, barely even like 2 rows of people at best, surrounded by executives and CEOs who run and operate billion-dollar publishers with teams in the thousands of employees, that must have felt really good for them to show. Because a little lore for you, Clair Obscur's main team didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were originally Ubisoft developers, or at least some of them were, that worked on games like Assassin's Creed, The Division, and more. The true reason why Clair Obscur existed, however, was, as 80level.com reported back in May 2025 as seen here, the creative director Broche, who founded Soundfall, was simply just bored with making AAA games. And according to Broche, if he was to pitch the idea of Clair Obscur to Ubisoft, which he worked at the time, it would have taken years upon years of meetings and pitches before Ubisoft would have even given him the chance to make the game that he wanted, which, let's be real, they probably still wouldn't have done it anyways. Broche originally joined Ubisoft in 2014 as an assistant director. He then moved to Microsoft for about a year to work on the Xbox One as an assistant brand manager, before then moving back to Ubisoft in 2017 as an associate producer on Ghost Recon Breakpoint and The Division 2. Here's some of his work that he did before Clair Obscur ever came to be. As you can see here, he worked at Ubisoft for years. Broche would eventually leave behind Ubisoft in 2020, finally sick and tired of the corporate nonsense, and then founded his own studio in Sandfall Interactive. There, he would hire 2 other developers from Ubisoft that he already knew, and then the majority of his new team were actually people who just never really made a video game in their lives. The composer of Clair Obscur, for example, who also won big at the Game Awards for Best Music, Broche found that guy on an internet forum. What's even more wild is that Broche didn't really even congratulate the industry per se for his win for Clair Obscur as Game of the Year either. Instead, during his speech, speech, he actually thanked YouTubers, which probably angered the game's journalists even further, because Broche even said during his win that it was because of YouTubers who made free online courses on YouTube that allowed Broche and his team to actually learn how to make games and fulfill roles that they've never really done in game development before. So this entire game was created by a bunch of bored AAA devs and then a lot of other people who loved video games but had no real clue how to make one in the first place. Also, they have a dog on their payroll too, which of course is why the game is so good, because dogs are the best. Either way, here stood Broche on the stage congratulating YouTubers and his small team for making a game that completely swept the Game Awards, winning 9 total statues. Yeah, I mean, it was a watershed moment. The big games that costed hundreds of millions of dollars like Borderlands 4, they weren't even nominated. Games like Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which had a budget of around $700 million somehow, lost to Clair Obscur and its $10 million budget too. What this entire night proved was really one thing: it's not the size of your team or the money that you have available, but instead how you use it, and this is key, the quality of the people that you have by your side when you're making these things. Clair has sold over 5 million copies on a budget that barely covers what some games spend on like voice work from celebrities alone. It was made in about 5 or so years on Unreal Engine 5 too, which was another embarrassment. Because as we all know, so many games have come out this year that have used Unreal Engine 5 and ran like molasses. Games that have crashed and burned at release, like again, Borderlands 4, that also ran on Unreal Engine 5. Yet here is Clair Obscur, again, running on the problem engine no other dev team seems to be able to crack themselves, despite maybe just, I guess, Embark Studios with Arc Raiders. But besides them, pretty much, their game ran beautifully. They had barely any glitches or problems, and now it's just won every award. It's just embarrassing, man. Not for you or me, mind you, but for the professionals in the space. They got showed up by a bored ex-Ubisoft employee and his team of weirdos who never made video games before. Clair Obscur ended up being something special that didn't have developers with huge backgrounds of talent. Again, that composer was a random guy they found on an internet forum of all things. The kinds of people who made Clair Obscur are the very kinds of people probably watching this video right now. People who do have the talent and really cool ideas in their heads and more, but they are being held back because the industry either doesn't want them, because they don't have a shiny certificate, or maybe their politics don't align, who knows, but either way, it's crazy how much talent is actually out here that is just being frankly wasted, because again, if Broche never left Ubisoft, he would just be working on like, I don't know, the next Ghost Recon, I guess, or maybe he would have worked on Assassin's Creed Shadows or the next Division or something else. Instead, Shadows won 0 at the Game Awards to nobody's surprise, and I bet Ubisoft felt stupid seeing their former employee, who, let's be real, they probably didn't even really know existed for the most time that he worked there anyways, constantly having himself or others that he works with running up on stage to keep accepting award after award after award. Ubisoft's higher-ups are probably in a boardroom right now screaming, realizing that they could have had Clair Obscur for their own. Thank God they didn't though, because let's be real, if Ubisoft had Clair Obscur and it won the way that it did, they would have 10,000% tried to turn it into some annual series with DLC, expansion passes, and cosmetics, with like, you know, Assassin's Creed outfits on Verso and Mayel or something stupid like that. What's even more wild is that Broche, while on stage accepting Game of the Year, casually announced that Clair Obscur is also getting a major update with a whole new level called Verso's Drafts. And he just casually announced that it's available as soon as he said it, and that it's also free, this update, which is called Thank You. Like I said, it features a Wonderland-like aesthetic level with new bosses, new cutscenes, 16 new Luminas, which are abilities you can obtain for your characters because you haven't played the game yet. And there's even 13 new weapons to obtain, new music by Lorien Testard, the composer of the game, new outfits, photo mode, and even more stuff too. It's free, like I said, which was likely another big FU to the industry, where all the greedy executives sat in their chairs, watching as one of their faceless employees they wouldn't even remember if they told them their name in the first place, was now standing on the biggest stage accepting Game of the Year and giving away free DLC that these types would normally nickel and dime you for, but this is what the industry is these days. They want to make things more expensive. Microsoft tried to normalize more expensive games like Nintendo has, and then here's Sandfall with their $50 turn-based game completely destroying all of these companies and then some. But there were some that lost, and it was glorious too, so if you don't mind, I would like to indulge myself a little. We have Ghost of Yote, which got 7 nominations and won absolutely nothing. Now, I don't care if the game won Best Art or Action. The The only thing I care about is that I am glad that Erika Ishii lost Best Performance, because that lady is a pro-Antifa supporter, which frankly disgusts me that Sucker Punch would even be okay openly working with someone and supporting her like that, which makes me disappointed in them too. But I am at least glad that she did not win for her performance. Now Yote can fade away for good. That was for me at least a hilarious loss nonetheless. But then there's the other weird sore loser that I did see at the Game Awards, which frankly just felt odd, which was Warhorse Studios with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I have a weird history with this game. I've openly criticized the game for adding an optional gay romance option between Henry and Hans, because it felt completely out of character and place for two characters that showed absolutely no signs of that sort of romance, especially in the original game, to now just suddenly have the option in the sequel. If Warhorse wanted to add a gay romance option for Henry, they should have just done it with an entirely new character instead. But making it Hans Capon of all people, it felt so forced and seriously still weirdly out of place, man. It felt like Warhorse was pandering, and I do stand by that. But what started this was Warhorse via the official Kingdom Come Twitter account posting the "This is fine" meme as seen here during the Game Awards. So they lost Best RPG to no one's surprise Clair Obscur, which totally made sense to me, because Clair is a much better RPG in every single way in my opinion. Look, you can't even say I didn't play Kingdom Come 2 either. Look up my PSN, it's sure you can. Here, I'll even put it on screen so you can publicly see it yourself. As seen here on PSN profiles, I got the Platinum Trophy for Kingdom Come 2 in about 3 weeks of game time. I didn't play any of the DLCs after though, because once I beat the game proper, I was very much done with that game, and honestly, I don't really want to play it ever again. So yeah, I think I can properly speak on both Kingdom Come and Clair Obscur, because I did 100% both of their base games at least, and if you ask me, Clair Obscur clears it in every single way imaginable. Kingdom Come was just overtly indulgent with tons of dialogue, and even confirmed by the devs before it came out that it had apparently like the most dialogue out of any game at that point or something, which personally, that's not a good thing in my opinion. Like, there's an entire part of that game in its campaign where you just stand in a room pouring different wines and stuff to these lords as they just talk politics. Like, the very riveting gameplay is you standing there listening to NPCs ask you for what kind of wine they want. Wow, this is very fun, guys. I felt like I was going to fall asleep while playing. Personally, I found Kingdom Come's combat also to still feel janky despite the improvements. I found the second map with Kudenberg to not be nearly as interesting as the first map either. The story had some interesting elements, I guess, mostly near the end of the game, which I won't spoil, I guess, if that matters, but generally speaking, the game was fine for me, but it was nothing close to a masterpiece. I will say credit where it's due. I found the stealth in the game to be very good, and there's one section where you're racing against the clock as a bell tolls, where you need to like find things and do things to save a certain someone. I thought that part of the game was kind of interesting, but for the most part, the game was just more Kingdom Come, I guess, but I wasn't really floored by anything I played, if I'm being honest. The main guy, Henry, he felt more like a non-character than ever before. Hans Capon is still the most annoying side character in a video game in a very long time, who never really redeems himself either and just gets more annoying as that game goes on. And it annoys me that you can't just take him out, unfortunately, either. Like, he just has plot armor, I guess. And for a game set in Bohemia with Christian faith at its core, you can't even enter the churches when I played the game. Maybe you can now, I have no idea. But when I played it, I couldn't enter a single church even if I wanted to. But it also had an entirely fictional settlement that was, of course, very important to the game's plot when it came to the Jewish faith instead. Like, the whole game, it just felt weird to me. So again, I'm not really surprised that it won 0 awards, because even when it came to customizing or leveling up Henry in the game, it was also like an illusion of choice. Once you hit like level 10 or so, the game just goes into like super easy mode. You eventually, without even trying to obtain, you just get every perk for Henry by just doing things. So it's not really like you can miss out on any one upgrade. It's just more so a matter of which like perk do you want first, I guess. And the same thing with the weapons and armor. After level 10, maybe 15 at best, it didn't really matter what I was using anymore. My stats just felt like they didn't really matter at all. It felt more like window dressing than anything else. Again, you can't even deny that I didn't play the game. I 100%ed it because I was reviewing it for the channel, so I'm talking from experience here. The game wasn't bad, okay, but it wasn't great either. I'm just being honest. I think the first Kingdom Come was far more interesting in my opinion. You then had, as seen here, Warhorse's community community manager claiming that they were robbed by the Game Awards with Clair Obscur winning, and no, you were not robbed at all. You just weren't as good as your competition. It's just the reality. Like, I don't hate Warhorse or anything. I mean, the guy who plays Hans Capon blocked me on Twitter, which is fine because Hans sucks anyways. But Kingdom Come 2 was like a solid maybe 6 out of 10 for me. I had a lot of problems with it, but crying on social media that Clair Obscur robbed you, just it comes off as desperate and pathetic if you ask me. Maybe just make your RPG elements matter more in the future. Make real choices in your RPG mean something. I don't mean story-wise, okay? Yes, those did matter in the game, I will admit. I mean more so in a character build sense, because if every perk can be obtained no matter what, that's not really choice, that's just Ubisoft game design. Clair Obscur was just a far superior game in every metric, like it is what it is. But having your community manager crying on social media isn't really going to make anyone believe that you deserved anything but really what you got. Again, I don't hate Warhorse. Hopefully they move on from Kingdom Come completely, because Henry is so boring in my opinion. And I really hope I never see or have to hear Hans Capon ever again, because listening, like dude, it wasn't even me who doesn't like him, okay? Like the Game Awards didn't even give the Hans guy a nom either, and I can't blame them. Like Hans is just annoying. I don't know what else to say, but what this also tells me more than anything is that Warhorse decided to pander to what they thought the industry wanted to see from them. They pushed for some new optional gay romance in a game where such a concept was nowhere in the first game at all. And then even after the devs back during the first Kingdom Come game confirmed that Henry was Henry and he wasn't actually you, so he was his own person. But now suddenly in the sequel, Henry is actually you, so now he can be gay if he wants to. It's just nonsense pandering is what it was. Look, people can hate me for this all they want, but it is what it is. But them not getting a single award despite pandering, that should be telling to the people that work there. It should tell you that you can bend over backwards and bounce on it all you want, they still won't accept you. So why are you doing this? Just stop doing that is what I would tell Warhorse, and maybe go back to how you guys were before, and don't anger the players who supported your first Kingdom Come game by making fun of them and attacking them by pushing slop that they didn't sign up for in a sequel. I mean, probably a good idea. Like the whole mess around Kingdom Come was just annoying, dude. I mean, it's not just me, okay? Just a quick search finds plenty of examples of potential players looking at how Kingdom Come reacted to losing to Clair Obscur last night, pretty much, and like none of it was good, if I'm being honest. Like you had this user who said this post by Warhorse just comes off as childish and cringe, like they believe that they were objectively better than Clair Obscur somehow. Or you had this user who said that they were interested in actually playing Kingdom Come 2, but now seeing how the developers are acting on social media, they're now not inclined to buy the game now, which, yeah, I think that's something that's going to happen a lot too. Or you had this user who straight up says seeing Warhorse act salty like this is also making them never want to play their game now, because it just comes off as pathetic, which, criticism where it's due, it does come off that way. I get it, okay? People are human, they're going to make mistakes, I have too, but that last example, as of me writing this video anyways, it had like 77,000 views on it. Imagine how many people who looked at that tweet opted also out of buying the game after seeing that too, you know? Probably not the full 77k, I know that, but even if it's like 100 people or a few thousand potential buyers, it adds up. This is why people need to watch what they say, especially if they are representative of like some larger group out there, like a game development studio. Because how Warhorse has conducted themselves, it just comes off as jealous. You should have just said, thanks for the nomination, congrats to Clair Obscur, and say something like, we're just happy people are enjoying RPGs or something, right? Keep it professional is what I'm trying to say. But now this just comes off as sad, the exact opposite feeling you want to have after millions of people on Twitter already saw Warhorse tweet what they did. Look, you can hate Clair Obscur all you want, it won what it did because it's not overrated. To me, there was objectively no other game that was going to win against it pretty much ever in any category it was in. Like Clair Obscur was like the Elden Ring of the year, if you will, a game that just did things that nobody can really challenge it with, you know? If anything, companies should be learning from what Sandfall has done here instead of getting butthurt about it instead. I even saw tweets like this somehow calling Clair Obscur a Yahtzee game. As you can see, online discourse for the most part these days is pretty meaningless, and just a large majority of people who hate things are either bots or just probably very low IQ individuals, because I don't know how you can look at Clair Obscur and think to yourself, wow, this game somehow looks generic, when objectively, like every single level of what that game is wholly unique. You had underwater vistas that you could walk in, you had good, beautifully like lined robed levels with teleport like things everywhere. There's this one level that's just littered with the bodies of previous expeditions that just looks frankly amazing. Like the game's art direction is incredible. And don't get me started on the monsters and stuff that you can fight too, or the gameplay mechanics. Like everything there is great as well. I think Clair Obscur has just become that game that people just hate on because it's popular, I guess. It's like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate all over again. Or you have people like this that said congrats to the white person game when it came to Clair Obscur winning. Like, you see what I mean? Low IQ takes. Anything does well, people will find some way to try to ruin it or turn it into some political nonsense gotcha. The game was made by people. There were men and women on that team. Like, just get over it. A lot of these people need therapy, if you ask me, not Twitter access. Regardless, either way, what Clair Obscur has done is good. It's proven that the majority of games are overspending for really no reason and thinking it matters more to spend millions on dozens of celebrity cameos or something, instead of just focusing on what really matters, which is the gameplay, the world that you're in, and of course its story. While I had problems with Clair's story myself, the overall package here is undeniably still worth every penny that someone spends on it, and I can only hope that the industry will continue to learn from this, but let's be real, probably not, because it is wild though that the Larian Studios CEO also predicted Clair Obscur well before it would ever come out too.
So it turns out that not only will I be the one who will know as first which game wins tonight, but I actually also know which game is going to win next year, the year after, and the year after. Now, how do I know this? Well, an oracle told me. She said, change is coming. It's a modern oracle, so they made me sign an NDA, but I trust all of you. I know you can keep a secret, you will never leak it. The oracle told me that the game of the year 2025 was going to be made by a studio who found the formula to make it up here on stage. It's stupidly simple, but somehow it keeps on getting lost. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted and function of a bonus or politics. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun. And they realized that if the developers didn't have fun, nobody was going to have any fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games.
But hey, that's how you know when real recognizes real. They didn't chase the trends and instead they chose passion. And while sure, some are going to be mad about it, like I guess Warhorse is, which was honestly so embarrassing to see. But if you haven't played Clair Obscur, yeah, you should probably try it out for yourself sometime. We need more games that value our time, our money, don't see us as living wallets. But it is still great that it embarrassed the industry the way that it has and to see all these people get their comeuppance. But hey, that is what it is, I guess. So I'm happy that they won. Congrats to Sandfall. Warhorse, you guys gotta have some social media training or something going on there. And for all the other big AAA games that lost, I mean, look inward. You probably won't learn anything from this anyway, let's be real. But I'm just glad that an indie game won instead of like, you know, Call of Duty or whatever other slop that came out this year. But anyways, thanks for watching, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.